Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Thankful Thursday. I hope you're all well. So first of all, this is a practice, a Yin Yoga practice for the spleen and stomach meridians. So the spleen is the yin and the stomach is the yang. They're pairs of meridians. They go yin and yang together. So you'll want to have some props available to you if you're a yoga teacher or a yogi who has a lot of stuff. I would suggest about 2 blankets, a few blocks, a bolster, and if you're practicing at home, grab some blankets, we all have those, some pillows, maybe some books or something sturdy to kind of prop yourself up with if you need something to hold on to. And of course, you can always come back and watch this video later if you just want to kind of watch along and then practice later. So the spleen, the stomach meridians, they govern our digestion, our intake, our absorption, our assimilation. When we speak in yogic or Ayurvedic terms, we're not just talking about the absorption, digestion of food, although it is that as well, but it can be also ideas, emotions, so it's more of a whole person kind of vision there. And when we're in good alignment with our stomach and spleen meridians, then we're said to have, a sense of peace, of equanimity. And if it's kind of out of balance or out of alignment, then we might have some anxiousness, some worry, those kind of things. So it's also said to be the link, these meridians, the link between the outside world and the self. And so this can be, some first chakra, some third chakra kind of stuff. The line of the meridian that we're going to be talking about today runs from the big toe up into the inner shin. It's going to go up into the abdominal cavity and up into the torso. And it also runs along the top of your foot into the front of the shin and thigh, and then it connects into the stomach. It kind of runs in front of that liver meridian that we did last time. And so it's going to connect the stomach. It's going to make its way up through the torso into the neck, the jaw, the side of the head, and the eye. So some of the stretches we do in a yin posture or a yin yoga sequence for this are going to affect the quads, the hip flexors in the front here, our fronts of our abdominals, and our chest. So that being said, sometimes when we do some of the deeper hip stretches, some folks can get some emotions come up. Remember to just breathe and stay with whatever you can, being in that witness mode, knowing that your mat is a safe place to experience feelings, emotions. Of course, in a practice of yin, the points of yin are to come into an appropriate depth, so not your deepest pose possible, because the second one is to hold for a time. And so gravity might deepen you, but you don't have to go to your deepest stretch in the beginning. And then to be still. So stillness can be very challenging in this day and age and this culture. And so that's one of the challenges of yin yoga, is that stillness. It's a turning within. So yin is the receptive, the cool, the feminine, if you will. So to begin, let's find a comfortable seated position. It can be whatever is right for you. But you'll want to lengthen up through your spine, through your neck. Okay. And for today's practice, we're going to take our hands into fists with the thumbs on the outside and pointing straight up. And then you can rest your hands down on the thighs, the knees, wherever they comfortably go. Your shoulders are rolling back and down. Everything is lengthening up. If it's appropriate for you, you can soften or even close the eyes. Just beginning to turn within. Either practicing just abdominal breathing, or if you're a yogi, you can do that Dirga 3-part, inhaling, filling the belly, letting the ribs flare out like the gills of a fish, and taking that same inhale all the way up to the collarbones. And on your exhale, you'll reverse the direction. At the base of the exhale, you can draw the navel slightly in, slightly up, compressing the vagus nerve, moving you into that rest and digest. And just continue to breathe here as I continue to speak to you. So knowing that in yoga we call the hand position we're currently holding Meridian mudra, which is the gesture of the spine. And it helps us to cultivate a sense of determination, of willpower. So there's that third chakra. It supports optimal alignment of the spine, which creates optimal space to the functioning of all of our organs and all of our systems. This is going to create an ideal balance between vitality and grounding, grounding being that first chakra. So it's going to bring awareness to our entire chakra system here, with a special focus on our third, the solar plexus. It's our center of personal power. It helps to instill confidence, to instill optimism. It aligns us with that earth and sky axis, a natural sense of integrity, a reflection of inherent authenticity of our true being. And incidentally, speaking of the earth, so our spleen meridian is related to the earth element, as well as summer kind of season, so late summer, and it's very feeling late summer here in Florida. So going back to this mudra, Meridanda, it's also going to help to open the spine up to the breath, which allows free flow of breath, free flow of feelings, of harmony and alignment, and to align with our source energy there as well. And so if you like, you can repeat the following mantra silently to yourself. Aligned with my core values from head to toe, I am capable of manifesting anything I desire. Aligned with my core values from head to toe, I am capable of manifesting anything I desire. Aligned with my core values from head to toe, I am capable of manifesting anything I desire. Maya Angelou said, we may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. And isn't it interesting, I wonder if you already know, that we all experience times when we feel down, defeated, like we cannot go on, do we not? Yet these times are actually something that we can move into a sense of gratitude for, because these times are often the stepping stones to some of our most productive or most fulfilling periods. Times when we are at our lowest point, we have only one way to really go, as they say. And it's often a time when we can reevaluate our desires, when we get really motivated. A time when we can really get in touch with our core values and start to realign with them. When we do so, we're attracting more of what we do want and letting go of anything that isn't serving us. It's a time of renewal, a kind of shedding of layers, or even a metamorphosis, like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. So perhaps rather than feeling dread and defeat, what would it be like to see each challenging time as a new chapter in the book of life, in the book of you, as a time of recreating ourselves, or even as a metamorphosis like that caterpillar emerging from the chrysalis as a beautiful new butterfly. And so I'd like to invite you to take a full and easy breath in. And as you exhale, let come to mind a distant time. A distant time when you were feeling really down, like it was kind of the end of the road, the end of the world, or like you just couldn't go on. You know, we often resist revisiting these times, and yet if you're standing here now, chances are this was actually the very beginning of a pivotal time in your life. You know, we only like to recall the best of times, and often these so-called best of times are actually the peak of an experience or period of time. And peaks are lovely, we all like them. But if we only pay attention to the peaks, we miss out on much of the upward journey. And so noticing this challenging time, it's tapping into it. What came after that? Notice, what did you learn from this period, or what did you bring into your life? You know, this emerging from our darkness is a part of life. It's a valuable part of life. So what would it be like the next time one of these challenging periods arises? To not push it away, to instead pause in this darkness and take a breath and know that you are once again about to step into the light, to rise up like the phoenix from the ashes, to take this to heart and to cherish even those difficult times, because after the dark comes the light. A never-ending cycle that is to be enjoyed as much as possible. After the sun comes the moon, after the moon comes the sun. So enjoying these times as much as possible, because our time here on earth really is indeed limited. So taking the time to cherish and enjoy as much of each and every day as you can, not just the best days. That's right. Gently release the hands, maybe give them a little shake out. If you have your eyes closed, you can open them gently, coming back to the room. And so we'll begin our practice here today. Getting into that spleen meridian. So I'll invite you to come into a wide-legged child's pose. So taking anything appropriate that you need to do so. I think I'm actually gonna take this off here. So if you need some cushions under your knees, if you need to use a bolster for comfort, then do so. Remember that yin is not a restorative practice though, so you do want to feel something. So I'm not going to put my knees out as wide as I can, but I'm going to put them out wider than, so this is like a normal wide legged, so I'm going to put them out a little bit wider, okay? And then I'm going to also get our timer so that I don't leave us here all day. I know you would not be so happy with me then. And then gently fold forward into your child's pose. Where is the time? And so take a moment, make any little shifts, and settling in here. Letting the breath be full and deep. So even in this forward fold, the breath is flowing all up my back of my body. That 3-part breath, lower back, upper back. And so remember, this is a yin practice, so we want to not fully engage muscles. We want to just be, so I'm not reaching out. I'm just kind of relaxed here, nice and soft. Turning within. Perhaps you begin to lengthen your exhales. Sometimes it's useful to, if the mind is busy, to think about inhaling for a count of 4 and then exhaling for a count of 6. This is going to slow respirations down from our average of 18 to 25 a minute to as slow as 6, which is very calming and soothing for the nervous system. It'll lower blood pressure, heart rate. So now we're going to do a thread of the needle in child. So I'm going to do my left first for the camera angle. So I'm going to thread my left arm through. I have my palm up for receptivity. You can turn it down if that's more comfortable to ground. And so my right arm is my top arm for me. And I might take it around and just kind of open up a little bit here. So we're opening up the spleen by stretching out those inner thighs as well as the neck and the side of the jaw here in this pose. And just relaxing in. If the mind begins to wonder or to think, know that that is what minds do, so no need to judge or be harsh with yourself. And just let it go, witness it. Maybe even bring your attention back to the breath or to counting the breath if that helps you. In a regular hatha or flow, a yang kind of practice, we move in and out of positions often very quickly. And those practices are good for our muscles. Muscles are said to have elasticity. You can think about a rubber band. You pull it apart, and it snaps back and snaps back. When we do a yin practice, we're getting into our connective tissue, our fascia, our joints. You can think about these connective tissues, fascia, joints as being not so elastic, but as having plasticity. And that's like a credit card. If you were to take your credit card and bend it really fast, sooner or later it's going to snap in half and not be so useful per se. But if you were to bend it very slowly and then let it come back and bend it very slowly and come back, it would retain its normal useful functions, and it might even have a little bit more pliability to it, you could say. So that's what we aim to do with our deeper stretches in our yin practice for the connective tissue.
Newer exercise research does show for physiology, to get a stretch, you might want to hold something for 90 seconds to gain flexibility per se. And so we're slowly going to come out of that side and move into the same thing on the opposite side. So for me, that's threading it'll be on this side, it'll be my right arm, and my left arm will come behind. And just noticing what you notice. And then letting go. And going within. Letting the breath be nice and full and relaxed. Noticing if there's anywhere you can soften. Is there any place you're holding on to tensions, to feelings, to thoughts that aren't serving you in this moment? Sometimes we do hold on to things, not just mentally, but we kind of store them in the body. It's interesting because they say the past does not exist, and neither does the future. All we have is this present moment. When we're focused on things that have happened in the past, sometimes we have a tendency to get sad or wistful. When we focus too much on the future, not disregarding the future, but focusing too much upon it, getting to the what ifs, and then we have anxiety popping up. And very slowly allow yourself to unfold. Gently rise up. Let the knees come softly in. Pausing here for a moment and just letting everything settle. We come into our deeper postures and we hold them for a while. We can tend to destabilize things just a little bit, so you want a moment of pause before you necessarily move into any counter poses. And then if it feels right, maybe you do a little bit of a gentle cat-cow, not your deepest and fullest, but just releasing. Lovely. So we'll move into some dragons here. So the way I like to do and to teach dragon is to have 2 blocks in the yin class anyway, is to have 2 blocks at the front of the mat. It's definitely something to cushion your knee. So I recommend a blanket, maybe half, or if you need a little bit more, I know you'll take care of yourself appropriately, honoring anything that's going on in your body. You do want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. I have a little wrinkle here. Trying to get that out. All right, perfect. So you're welcome to just come from table. If you like a little stretch, you can also do a gentle downward facing dog to come into this. So wherever you are, whether it's table or dog, you'll inhale your right leg back out behind you. And then you're going to step your right foot forward, lowering your left knee and top of the left foot to the mat. So remember to find an appropriate depth, not your deepest depth. I'm knocking everything over here today. And I'm going to set our timer here. So knowing that if you need to come out, of course you will come out. You'll take care of yourself, but I'm not in my deepest position. Most of the time we want to keep our knee over our ankle in dragon because it's considered a safe alignment. Certain yin teachers, because we're holding the pose, will go a little bit farther forward. We invite you to just keep the knee over your ankle for today. You can use your fingers on the blocks. You can rest the hands on the thigh or behind you. And just breathe. And sometimes when we hold a dragon for a long time, we might have a little bit of shaking, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Sometimes folks report having some emotions come up. And I've had that happen to me on the mat too, and I can't honestly think of a better time to have some emotions come up than when I'm on my sacred space on my mat. I'm just breathing and processing anything instead of running from it. This is your time for you. Sometimes I'll even hold a different mudra and a dragon if there's something I want to work on. I like Hansi for inner joy, that's just the pinkies extended, or middle fingers to thumb for infinite possibilities, Akasha. But you can just let the hands relax, or you can use a little bit of support for yourself here. So while it does take some muscular activity to hold a dragon, I'm not thinking about pushing my feet and knee in opposition or squeezing my hip bones together. I am in alignment, but I'm just sinking in, relaxing into it. About 4 more breaths here.
Gently bring your hands down to the ground. And if you're going to take your front, your right leg back, so it can be either 3-legged table or 3-legged dog. If you're doing the dog, obviously tuck your left toe. Take the leg slowly up just to release. We'll set that either foot or leg down, table or dog, pausing here. Just noticing any shifts, any sensations. Does one side feel different, and how so? We're gonna take the opposite leg, either up behind or back, so 3-legged dog or table, left leg. We're not going into the same pose though. We're gonna bring that left knee in towards the nose. I'm gonna scoot my blanket forward. I'm gonna come into, in Yang we would call it pigeon, in Yin we call it swan. So I'm gonna find that proper alignment. I'm gonna grab something for my head here. And then I'm going to gently untuck my foot and fold forward. So you can place your head on a block or whatever you need, or you can just allow yourself to drape forward. Now, if this is not an appropriate position for you, you're welcome to do it supine on your back, like so. But finding whatever works for you to get into that form. And then softening as much as possible. And letting the breath flow freely up the entire back of the body. And sinking in here. So there's a verse of the Tao that says, fill your bowl to the brim and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife and it will blunt. Chase after money and security and your heart will never unclench. Care about people's approval and you will be their prisoner. Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. So just stepping back here. Noticing if there are any holdings, where else you might soften. And if the mind begins to wander, simply bring it back to the breath, maybe counting, maybe lengthening the exhales. Not generally a part of yin practice, but sometimes I'll even add the ocean or the ujjayi sound, just because it takes me within. It is a warming breath, but it's a calming breath, so if you don't make it overtly loud, you can make it a soft kind of ocean. Just to go within. 2 more breaths here. And then very slowly begin to come up. Maybe a gentle little back bend, not your fullest one. We'll plant our hands onto the mat, the ground. So if you're coming into the 3-legged dog, you tuck your right toe. If you're coming into 3-legged table, and just take the leg back. And pause in the center. Notice what you're sensing or feeling. If you want to have soft knees and walk the dog a little bit, nice and slow, not your fullest, widest dog. We're going to inhale and take that same left leg back now. And then we're going to step it forward. So we're coming into our dragon on this side, or lizard if you prefer to call it lizard. And then sinking in. Noticing any tendencies to fidget. Is there really a need to move, or is it just a desire to move out of the stillness? Sometimes we use movement or action as an avoidance. I often find I have sometimes some shaking occur here. Sometimes I feel like that's my body's way of releasing some things that I have emotionally or mentally stored in it. It's funny, you know, when an animal has a minor incident, say a bird were to fly into the window behind me, and he wasn't harmed, but he didn't have a greatest moment there, and he fell down to the earth but found himself okay. He'd shake his wings off, get back up, fly away, and it'd never occur to him again. When something like that happens to us, we kind of associate things into it. Anything that reminds us of that brings up the same felt sense. So I feel like sometimes when I have little shakes, I'm just like a little bird releasing things. And 4 more breaths here. After your 4th breath, Gently release out, bringing the hands down. You'll take that front foot back behind you, either through table or dog. And gently releasing. And pausing in table or downward facing for a moment. Resetting. And when it's right for you, we'll return to that right leg. Inhaling it out or up. The knee comes forward. We're coming into this side. Swan, sleeping swan. So using any props that are going to work for you. But not so much that you don't feel any stretch. Of course, if you're doing it on your back, then honor that. And then settling in. Softening where you can. And just allowing anything that comes up to be like one of those guests that Rumi talks about in that guest house poem. A visitor that you welcome. You don't have to let them move in, but all are welcome. Releasing down, being in this present moment. Just letting go of everything that's already happened today. Releasing mental to-do lists, just being in the here and now. And being fully present in this time of self-care, self-inquiry. Svadhyaya, self-study. Not always the easiest, but one of the necessary journeys that we take as yogis, as seekers. Four more breaths here. After your fourth breath, finding your hands, that place kind of close to the ribs, but not as close as we sometimes do, to lengthen up, nice and gentle. We're going into a full back bend. And then coming into either table or dog, releasing that right leg, hip. Taking a moment in table or dog to just pause. Sense any shifts. And if you are in downward facing dog, lower the knees, joining others in table. Sitting off to the side. So the next posture that I am going to teach today is saddle. Saddle it was not my friend for many years. It took, I think, 7 years of yoga for me to get into it. It's still not my favorite pose, but I do find benefits from it. The way I do saddle for myself is I like to have a blanket here, and then I take my bolster. I like to use a block because I have some cervical vertebra issues. So I'll show you the way I do it, and then I'll give you some other options. So you can also do half saddle, which would be extending one leg. You want your butt to touch the bolster, and then it's that back bend. So your knees don't need to touch in the yin version. I like the block behind my neck. It's not used by most folks. That's a personal, Ashley isn't. So if you're doing half saddle, then you're extending one leg. The thing you don't want is you don't want your pelvis to get crooked, so you have to kind of adjust, maybe lengthening and taking the leg out a little bit to the side. So if that is definitely not going to work for you today, I hear you, I have been there. So the goal here is not just to get the meridian, but even in a yin practice, we want to move through the 6 cardinal directions of the body so that the movement is complete. So this is about our back bend or our heart opener. So you can certainly come down and do a Sphinx pose with elbows in front. So again, it's not the Sphinx that we normally do where you're really pushing the toenails down and engaging the glutes, but you'll do what you need to do to protect your lower back. You can also come up to seal. Seal is going to have your hands off the mat in yin. And in yin, sometimes we even let the shoulders come up and the head hang a little bit. You'll find what works for you. You get the drift that this is about the back bend as well as stretching the meridian that we're working on today. Remember, meridians are our energy lines. They're kind of like vessels of energy, just like our arteries and veins are vessels of blood. So if you're doing half of saddle, then you would need to split your time. So I'll tell you when we're halfway through in the event that you are doing half saddle. This is a pose for me that was very hard. It's a counter for the way I performed most of my life as a dancer, a ballerina. It was very much turned out. So my knees are turned in, my hips are turned in instead of out here. It led to, it just was the opposite. So of course I felt it was going to cause injury. So I had to gradually work at it. In fact, when I first saw this position, I was like, this cannot even be good for someone. But it really does grow upon you. We really do take the time to soften because those old patterns in my body want to tense when I'm turning in like this. So I make sure I'm taking my deep belly breaths, activating my vagus nerve, 10th cranial nerve, moving myself into rest and digest. I support my injuries in my cervical vertebra so that that isn't adding to any kind of tension that I might hold. And then I just kind of soften all the way. So I'm like really letting go into it. I'm not telling you to move into the position if it's painful for you. And if you do have injuries, of course, you want to clear that with a doctor, physical therapist, etc., a licensed person. But if you feel that you're just having difficulties getting into the position, then and you would like to continue to work on it, then it's really important to just kind of soften and go. And you don't want to necessarily. So today we're holding the poses a fairly light amount, between 1 and 3 minutes, but they can certainly be held longer in a full yin practice. We keep these Thankful Thursdays to the best of our ability to, under an hour. Typical yin class I teach is about 90 minutes, so you can hold poses, some of them 3, 5, 10 minutes, some people do longer. But you wouldn't want to just pop into one of your most difficult or challenging postures and hold it for the longest ever. So if you are doing half saddle, go ahead and switch to the opposite side now. Give you a moment to do that. So extending the other leg, making any shifts that you need to make. And then sinking back in and softening. Sometimes it can be nice to have an eye pillow. Sometimes I use eye pillows as hand weights in my yin or even restorative practices, just to have that kind of groundedness in the palms of your hands. Just a little eye pillow is very grounding. It can help to relax the mind and the body. Letting that breath be full and easy. Still moving through the belly, the ribs, and the upper chest. But letting go of any sharpness or any tension.
the conclusion of your fourth exhale, make sure you come out nice and slowly. It's not a fire escape exit here. So I want to keep as much, if I'm in full saddle, I want to keep as much evenness in the body, not twisting to one side or the other. Releasing very slowly again, so as not to cause anything to shift. Remember, holding the pose for a long time can be a little destabilized. And come up here nice and gentle. Maybe you come to a table. I like to gently stretch the legs out here, getting the blood to flow freely. And again, if you want to do a cat-cow, not your fullest and deepest, just little gentle movements here. I have found some folks that are just getting into saddle do like to use a block kind of under it. It'll add a little bit of height to it. I have some students that come to me that they need two bolsters, and then we have to secure them so the top bolster does not roll off. So I'm going to take my blanket. We're going to come into a dragonfly. Take my blanket. I like a little extra cushioning. So again, for dragonfly, I often teach my students to kind of bring their arms to I Dream of Jeannie, and then just to have stepping away, just to take their legs as far as they'll go without pushing them. And that is probably a good place to start, particularly if this is not one of your favorite poses. So generally a bolster, a block here are going to be useful for a lot of folks. And so you do want to kind of lengthen your way up here and then gently fold forward. I like to bring my hands up for receptivity. The other hand you can ground. Some people like to kind of hold on to the bolster. You don't want to be death gripping and pulling yourself forward. If you find, as gravity often does, have me finding that this is not by far my deepest position, even after a hip replacement a little under a year ago. I can go almost all the way down again. I don't want to do that to start, but if I find that I'm just not feeling anything, I might slowly start to slide a prop away and gently fold. I want to feel something. I don't want to feel nothing here, basically. And again, folding forward, turning within and letting the breath be full. The breath is really massaging the back of the body in many of these positions. Verse 48 of the Tao says, in pursuit of learning, every day something is acquired. In the pursuit of Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less is done until non-action is achieved. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. The world is ruled by letting things take their course. It cannot be ruled by interfering. It's true, how many things do we just not really have control of, and the more we try to control, the more complicated things can be, or more frustrating, or more time consuming. About 4 more breaths here.
your fourth breath, very, very slowly coming up. And remember, it's not that parachute, fire escape, jump out, get out of here. It's a nice slow departure. Moving any props out of the way. I like to bend my knees and kind of just give them a little bounce in, pausing. And then if it feels appropriate for you, bend the knees and gently and slowly windshield wipe side to side here. So we'll be coming into a butterfly pose. So it's not your typical yang cobblers, it's going to be extended out. Doesn't matter if you can get your knees all the way down in cobblers. Yin, you want them out a little bit forward. We're going to hang out for a while. If this is already uncomfortable, I suggest taking a bolster, maybe a block on top, two-fold forward. If that becomes restorative for you, meaning you're not feeling anything other than this is really nice and I could take a nap, then that's too much. So you do want to feel some stretch, some lengthening, I like to say. Not discomfort, but lengthening. And just let the head hang. So if you see my head poking up, I'm watching our time. I'm trying to speak to the camera, but in no way should your neck be up. You want it aligned with your spine, or in this case, you want it to just relax, to drape down. And taking this nice full breaths here. Again, hands can be up for receptivity, down for grounding. If you like a mudra, up to you. Around 4 more breaths here. Breath. You can rise up, or you can extend the legs slowly and then rise up. Nice and slow, one vertebra at a time. Maybe you're giving the shoulders a little roll backwards. You can even come into, I like to come into a hammock pose just for a moment after that, which is just leaning back on the forearms. You can do it with your chin tucked like I do because of my cervical vertebra, or you can really let the head hang back. I know that feels really good for a lot of people. That feels like a bowling ball dragging my throat down for me, so I tuck my chin. Just taking a couple breaths here, noticing what you notice. Lovely. And slowly come up. Then we'll be from this seated position. My feet are a little wide. I like to, again, do a gentle kind of rocking with the cat-cow. And I'm tucking my pelvis a little bit here, just kind of releasing, resetting things. And I'm very slowly going to lower down all the way to the mat. To finish that reset, I like to hug my knees in and rock out the lower back. So I am keeping my tailbone, my shoulders down, my chin tucked, but I'm not doing my deepest squeeze here. I'm gonna extend my legs out, let them be wide on the mat. And I'm gonna take my left ankle and cross it over my right. I'm gonna bring my arms up overhead. Bring my shoulders over to the right as well, but keeping shoulders and hips both flat. I'm gonna take my right hand and grab my left wrist. Might even gaze up into the left. I'm gonna take 3 breaths here, really stretching out that left rib cage and the intercostal muscles around the ribs. It's called banana asana because you're making that kind of C curve or banana with the body. Now do your 3rd breath, release the wrist. Some people do hold the elbow or the different parts of the arm. Do what you feel is best for your body. Bring that left ankle over to the left side of the mat, and then the right ankle crosses it. If it won't cross easily, then bring it next to or close. Move the shoulders, arms overhead on this side. Left hand grabs right wrist. Again, some folks like to do up here. It's a more intense stretch. If that feels good to you, go for it. You can even gaze up into the right, getting into those right rib cage, even the right armpit. I feel this in. 3 breaths. And then release. Come back to the center, uncross. If you feel you need another little rock, do a gentle one. Some folks prefer to circle the knees. If you want to do a twist, you can scoot your hips to the left. Left shoulder stays down. You can even do this with, you're the one closest to me, a block. So you want to keep your knees as stacked as possible. My knees don't really stack all the way. You can take the right hand and press a little down if you like. Take a couple breaths here. And then inhale the knees back up. Return yourself to center with the hips, and then we lift them up and scoot them to the right. To take our knees to the left, we'll want that right shoulder to stay down. If it comes up, then after you set yourself up, press it back down. Left hand can put a little pressure on that right thigh to get a little bit further of a stretch. Not too intense here. 3 breaths. After your 3rd one, come back to the center, square off. Again, any little movements your body is calling for. And then finding that final moment of stillness in your Shavasana. Settling in, letting the whole body, letting the whole mind reset. Oops. There's nothing left for you to do, just be. Beginning to invite little movements back into fingers, into toes. Maybe you lick your lips or
Gently move your head a little side to side. And breath is returning to normal. You can circle the wrists and ankles if that feels right. On an inhale, you might lengthen your arms and legs out in opposition. On an exhale, if you want to give yourself a really big hug and bring the knees in, rock it out one final time. Anything else that you're longing for, and then make your way to a fetal position, whichever side you prefer today. Pausing there, perhaps letting the cheek rest on the upper arm. Congratulating yourself on taking some time out to take care of yourself today. Thanking the body for all it does. And then, as it becomes right to you, gently draw the navel muscles into the spine to protect your lower back. And the elbow that's closest to the mat will press into it along with the opposite hand. So core and upper body strength are going to push you up. Circle the hands around to come back to seated. If you like, you can bring your hands together in Anjali Mudra, that prayer position. Perhaps bringing thumbs to forehead for honest thought, and then to lips for honest speech, and then to the heart again for honest intention. And namaste, the light in me shines and the light in you, and vice versa. So thank you so much for joining us for Thankful Thursday. The oil that I chose to use today is, of course, doTERRA's Digestion, because it's all about digestion. I really do like this oil. Anytime I feel a little queasy, it really calms me down. It has some fennel and some other very calming, is it ginger? I'm not sure. Yeah, ginger. And it's yummy. You can always rub it. They made a roll-on one that's mixed with some coconut oil. A friend of mine actually rubs it on her belly. You can, if you're using a glass or metal container, you can pour it in water. I'm so used to it, I like to just put a drop or two on my tongue. So that's a lovely little aside there. Planning on doing a few more of these yins, focusing on the meridians. Of course, if anyone has a topic that they would like to have addressed in our Thankful Thursday, I'm always happy to have you reach out to me, and then we can come back to a yin and take care of that, because it's all about you, really. Let's see, what's going on in the month of May. So this Saturday, May 8th, we have, of course, limited seating with the pandemic and all. We have a sound bowl healing. That's at 7 to 8 p.m. It's listed on Meetup. The 15th is a full day Reiki 1 and 2 training certification. You get a manual, your attunements. That's with myself and Mary Ellen Duda. We do this about quarterly. So we're really excited. That's May 15th. May 24th is a Monday, so it's about, I think it's the 21st to the 23rd is Hypno Expo, which is normally in Orlando. It's on Zoom again this year. So I'll have, along with Karen Hand out of Chicago, I'll have a 1 hour presentation or talk, and then the following Monday, which is the 24th, we have a full day workshop, which is on post-pandemic problem solving. This is more geared towards folks in the healing arts, more hypnotists, but we have some lay folk that are very skilled in taking this as well. And then Karen and I also did a 5-week separate parts workshop that was pandemic problem solving, and that was dealing with different kind of issues. We did loss of taste and smell, we did grief, we did energy, fatigue, brain fog. So those are little mini workshops, and they're recorded. They're still available to you, of course. Let's see, normally the last Monday of the month is group hypnosis, but because Hypno Expo is, and that presentation, that workshop is the 24th, we're going to do our group hypnosis here, limited seating again, Tuesday the 25th, and it's on optimal optimism. And, well, of course, Wednesdays, every Wednesday we have a 9 a.m. therapeutic yin kind of yoga class. That's a 90-minute practice. Anything that's live right now is limited seating. You do need a reservation RSVP. And I'm always available for private hypnosis, NLP. We do sound bowls. We do different types of meditation. And then there's, of course, Reiki and yoga therapy as well. All right, so I hope everyone found something useful today, and I hope you all found something to be thankful for on Thankful Thursday. Namaste, and we'll see you really soon.